The SCP Foundation has been a staple of internet horror for many years now, even after the Great Schism caused by SCP-2721, an entity that is basically an alien satellite that is trans and loves Homestuck. Yeah, I'm serious, that's a real SCP. But we're not here to talk about drama within the SCP community. We're here to ask a question no one in the community dared or even thought to ask. Which kids' book character or aspect of a children's book could be SCPs? I think I found a few that could fit the bill. I'll be giving them classes as seen in regular SCP documentation. However, object class is something that people tend to get tripped up on, so let's clear up how that works real quick. Most people are under the impression that object classes are reflections on how dangerous an SCP is. This is not true. It is actually a measurement on how much effort and resources go into containing and understanding an entity. For example, safe class entities are easy to contain. You can place them in a box and nothing will happen. Euclid class entities aren't impossible to contain, but still pose a few challenges due to their nature, or what is needed to keep them in one spot. Keter class entities are either impossible, impractical, or extremely expensive to contain, often requiring pages upon pages of procedures to make sure they do not breach containment. I will not be covering kids' horror books because I feel like that would be too easy, so no goosebumps, unfortunately. Alright, well, let's just hop right into it. Description. The stripes is an unknown ailment that affects children, starting with symptoms like the affected subject's skin changing colors at first depending on the context, before quickly spinning out of control. The subject will begin to grow extra limbs, mold into furniture, and eventually become the room they reside in, with the furniture becoming eyes, mouth, nose, and ears. Tentacle-like appendages, branches, and other growths will sprout from the walls surrounding affected subjects. Yeah, so this is prime SCP material. It already has some very close ties to already existing SCPs, mainly the living room, SCP-002. While this does seem like a very serious and unpredictable virus that subjects innocent kids to the trauma of body horror, it is easily counterable. Just eat lima beans. Yeah, that's it. Eat your lima beans. Since many of these kids are likely not eating lima beans on a daily basis, it is likely that you could pretty much eat any vegetable and this SCP will go away. The Foundation would probably find a way to contain this virus, and I say it is a virus because nothing about this seems mimetic in nature, but it seems to change Camilla's skin condition with outside stimuli. Object class, Euclid. Description. SCP-XX2 is an origami finger puppet resembling the character Yoda from the 1980 film Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. Upon putting the finger puppet on one's finger, the user is seemingly possessed by an entity that resembles the mannerisms and voice of said character. This entity will give prophetic advice through the subject, always resulting in positive outcomes if chosen to follow its advice. SCP-XX2 seems to be mostly benevolent in nature. So if any of you may have read the Origami Yoda books growing up, you can probably see why I think Origami Yoda is anomalous in nature. Dwight, the character who uses Origami Yoda to give advice to the kids at Macquarie Middle School, is often deemed weird by the other kids until he starts giving advice through the origami finger puppet. The book is formatted as a sort of anthology of short recounts by other kids gathered by the character Tommy, who wants to find out if Origami Yoda is actually a separate being with his own personality, or if Dwight is just secretly extremely wise. There are also points in the story where they add doubt to whether or not Origami Yoda is actually anomalous, such as Marcy's account, Origami Yoda and the Nasty 8th Grader. TLDR, Marcy is trying to win a spelling bee and asks Origami Yoda for what word she actually needs to study for. Origami Yoda tells her that he will tell her tomorrow because he needs to see far off in the future to do so. And then the next day, he tells her to study the word malt and not to forget the letter T. However, she loses the spelling bee and no one would actually get the word malt. Another character that goes through these accounts, Harvey, says that this is clear evidence that Origami Yoda is not omniscient. But Tommy offers Yoda a bit of forgiveness, saying that Origami Yoda chose not to give Marcy advice that would have worked because she was so ungrateful when he did so, calling him fartface instead of thanking him, especially once you actually look up what mulked actually means, which means to trick or punish someone. If Origami Yoda is an anomalous entity, he could easily be contained, because, well, he's just a finger puppet. Just put him in a locker or something. Object class, safe. This next entity, however, is a lot more dangerous and hard to contain. Description: SCP-XX-3 is an anthropomorphic cat that materializes outside of homes when certain conditions are met. Those conditions being that the house does not contain adults and only pre-adolescent children. SCP-XX-3 has a higher chance of appearing when conditions outside render it undesirable to go out, such as thunderstorms. Pets within the house of SCP-XX-3 will undergo a metamorphic transformation, changing their appearance to be able to express complex emotions. Most commonly, it will acknowledge SCP-XX-3's anomalous abilities and beg for the entity to leave the home, in which it will promptly ignore. Eventually, during its visit, SCP-XX-3 will procure a box in which two additional entities deemed SCP-XX-3-A and SCP-XX-B, or Thing 1 and Thing 2. These three entities will then invite the children to play games, often causing property damage. At the end of a visit from SCP-XX-3, it will then put the two additional entities away in its box and leave the premises, coming in on a Zomboni-like device that will repair any damage done to the home, including items that were destroyed during the visit. The conclusion of SCP-XX-3's visits tends to time itself perfectly with the return of adults of the premises. I mean, do I have to explain why the Cat in the Hat is an SCP? You could easily take any Dr. Seuss book and make that case, but I think the Cat in the Hat makes the best fit, especially with the edits of Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat. He would be an extremely hard entity to contain. He just sort of shows up at homes, fucks shit up, cleans it up, and then leaves. But is no means an extremely dangerous entity. But how hard he is to contain would make him a challenge for the Foundation. Object class, Keter. A lot of kids' books tend to have a lot of things that could make themselves home in the SCP universe. If you like the video, Origami Yoda does say that you should consider subscribing and like the video. And if you eat your lima beans, hype the video too. And I'll see you in the next one.